She built her company from nothing and trusted the wrong man to help her protect it. When Rhea Collins discovers that the person she loved most has forged her signature and sold her future, her world collapses overnight. But beneath the heartbreak rises something far more dangerous, a woman who refuses to be silenced. In this gripping suspense drama of love, betrayal, and redemption, one forged document ignites a war of secrets where every truth comes with a price. When betrayal wears the face of love, revenge becomes justice. Rain tapped softly against the glass of Rhea Collins's apartment window, each droplet catching the glow of the city lights below. From her 12th floor view, the streets looked like restless veins, neon and motion, and people who never really stopped. She should have been among them, celebrating the end of her week at the architectural firm, yet her heart wasn't in it. Rhea brushed her hand across the window pane, leaving a trail of warmth on the cold surface. She had always loved rain. Its rhythm soothed her, but lately, it reminded her too much of that night 2 years ago. The night she'd walked away from the man she thought she'd marry, the partner she'd built her future around. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A single message glowed across the screen. From unknown number, "It's time we talked, Rhea. I know what you left behind." Her pulse jumped. The words dragged her breath short. She hadn't spoken to anyone about that night, not even her closest friend, Mila. For 2 years, she'd rebuilt her life brick by brick, hiding the fractures under smiles and deadlines. Whoever sent this knew something she'd buried carefully. Rhea stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then she typed back, "Who is this?" but didn't hit send. Instead, she deleted the draft and locked her phone. Her instinct, trained by betrayal, whispered, "Don't show fear." She turned off the light and stepped toward her drafting table, where a half-finished design lay sprawled, an urban restoration project for a historic district. Ironically, she was sketching how to preserve crumbling architecture, while her own walls were threatening to collapse again. A knock came at the door. Rhea froze. It was late, nearly midnight. She lived alone. The knock came again, 3 slow taps this time. Her stomach clenched, but she moved quietly, glancing at the peephole. It was Evan Hale, her ex-fiancé. She blinked, half believing her mind was playing tricks. He stood there, rain dripping from his hair, a folded newspaper in hand. The same confident stance, though time had softened his arrogance into something heavier. Regret, maybe. Rhea hesitated before unlocking the door. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice low. He gave a tight smile. "You don't answer calls anymore. Thought I'd try the old-fashioned way." "I changed my number for a reason," she replied. "How did you even find where I live?" He shrugged, gaze flicking to the apartment behind her. "It wasn't hard. You're still in the same city, still designing buildings that touch the sky." She crossed her arms. "Say what you came to say, Evan." For a moment, silence stretched. Then he held out the folded newspaper. "You should see this." Rhea took it warily. On the front page was the name of her firm, Collins and Bennett Architects, bold in black print above a headline. "City project under investigation for financial irregularities." Her chest tightened. What is this?" Evan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Your partner, Adrian Bennett. He's being accused of embezzlement, millions siphoned from the restoration budget." "That's impossible," she said sharply. "Adrian wouldn't do that." Evan's expression softened with something between pity and frustration. "You always believe in people, Rhea. It's what I loved about you, and what nearly destroyed you." His words landed like old scars reopening. Rhea dropped the newspaper onto the counter. "You came here to lecture me? After what you did?" "I came to warn you," he said, his tone firm now. "Someone's setting you up. The article mentions your signature on several of the flagged transactions." Her breath hitched. "That can't be. Those were authorized payments for materials. Adrian handled the accounts." Evan's eyes darkened. "Then someone forged them. You need to find out who. Fast." Thunder rumbled outside, echoing through the room. Rhea felt the same storm gathering inside her. For 2 years, she'd kept her life meticulously quiet. Work, home, solitude. but now the past and present were colliding violently. "Why are you helping me?" she asked finally. "You made your choice when you left." He hesitated. "Because I owe you the truth about that night. And because whoever sent you that message tonight, they know more than they should." Rhea stiffened. "You know about the message?" "I got one too," he said grimly, pulling out his phone. He showed her the screen. "From unknown number, she still doesn't know, does she?" For the first time, genuine fear flickered across his face. Rhea's thoughts spun. Adrian's investigation, the anonymous messages, Evan's reappearance. None of it was a coincidence. "Evan," she said slowly, "what did you do?" His jaw tightened. "Not here. Someone's watching. Meet me tomorrow, Riverside Cafe noon. Don't tell anyone." Before she could answer, he turned and disappeared down the corridor, the echo of his footsteps fading with the storm. Rhea locked the door, her hand trembling. She glanced again at the newspaper headline, then at the window where rain streaks distorted the city lights into ghostly shapes. Something inside her whispered that this was only the beginning, and that the truth waiting beneath the surface could destroy everything she'd built. The next morning dawned gray, the kind of colorless light that made everything look half awake. Rhea sat at her kitchen table, untouched coffee cooling beside her, the newspaper from last night spread open again. Her mind replayed every detail: Evan's warning, his haunted expression, the way he'd said, "Someone's watching." She wanted to dismiss it as paranoia, but the message on her phone had vanished sometime during the night. Deleted. She hadn't erased it, yet it was gone. Her chest tightened as she checked her call log, her messages, her cloud backup. Nothing. It was as if the text had never existed. By 11:30 a.m., she was outside Riverside Cafe, a cozy spot tucked beside the city's old bridge. It used to be her and Evan's favorite place when things were simpler, back when love hadn't been tangled with betrayal. The smell of roasted coffee and damp pavement hit her as she entered. Evan was already there, sitting at a corner table near the window, wearing the same black jacket from last night. His hair was still damp, his eyes sharp but tired. When he saw her, he gave a faint, almost apologetic smile. "Rhea," he said, standing briefly as she approached. "You came." "I'm not sure why," she replied, setting her bag down. "Maybe because you said someone's trying to destroy me. Or maybe because I want answers that have been buried too long." He nodded slowly. "Fair enough. You deserve them." They sat. For a while, neither spoke. The hum of quiet conversation and the clinking of mugs filled the silence between them. Rhea noticed Evan's hand trembling slightly as he reached for his cup. "You said you owe me the truth about that night," she began. "Start there." He exhaled. "The night you left me. There's more to it than you knew. I didn't cheat, Rhea. Not in the way you thought." Her eyebrows knitted. "Then explain the hotel receipt, the texts, the photo." "They were planted," he said. "I know how that sounds, but it's true. Someone wanted to break us apart, and it worked." Rhea gave a disbelieving laugh. "After 2 years, that's your excuse?" Evan leaned forward, voice low. "Listen, 2 months before we split, I was approached by someone, Adrian Bennett." Her breath caught. "Adrian? My business partner?" He nodded. "He told me he had an investor who could help fund your independent design firm, said he wanted to surprise you. But then, things changed. I started getting messages, warnings about you, about something illegal connected to your old projects. I thought it was a setup. Then the fake evidence appeared and I panicked." "You think Adrian framed us?" she whispered. Evan hesitated. "I didn't want to believe it. But now, with the investigation, I think he's behind everything." Rhea's mind reeled. Adrian, the man she'd trusted for 5 years, who'd co-founded the firm with her after her breakup. He'd been calm, brilliant, and always protective of her. Too protective, maybe. "Do you have proof?" she asked. "Not yet," he said. "But I know where to find it." He slid a small envelope across the table. Inside were 2 flash drives. One contains copies of financial documents that Adrian's team tried to delete. The other is surveillance footage from your office. Rhea's pulse raced. How did you get this? Someone sent it to me anonymously 3 days ago, Evan said. Same number that messaged you. Her stomach twisted. Then how do you know it's real? I don't, he admitted. But it shows someone entering your office at night. A woman. She used your keycard. Rhea blinked. A woman? That's impossible. I keep my card in my bag. Unless someone duplicated it. Her mind darted to Mila, her best friend and assistant, the only other person with daily access to her office. The thought made her chest ache. Mila had been her rock after the breakup. Surely, she wouldn't.
No.
Rhea pushed the idea away. Evan noticed her hesitation. You know who it could be, don't you? She shook her head, lying through her teeth.
No.
I'll look at the footage myself. He studied her for a long moment. Rhea, be careful. The last time someone trusted Adrian, they ended up missing. Her heart froze. Missing?
Who?
His former accountant. Name was Victor Hale, his brother. Rhea stared at him in disbelief. I didn't even know Adrian had a brother. Most people don't, Evan said grimly. He disappeared last year. Police said it was a suicide. But the timing, he paused. It was right after Victor questioned the firm's offshore accounts. Rhea's voice shook. You think Adrian killed his own brother? Evan looked at her with haunted eyes. I think Adrian is capable of anything. Before she could reply, a shadow passed outside the cafe window, someone watching them from across the street. A man in a dark coat stood beneath an umbrella, his face obscured. Rhea turned toward him, but the moment their eyes met, he stepped away and vanished into the crowd. Evan rose instantly. Did you see that? Yes, Rhea whispered. He was watching us. Then we're already too late, Evan said, voice hardening. He knows we've started digging. Rhea clutched the envelope tightly. What do we do now? He looked at her with the same intensity she remembered from when they first met. You go back to your office, act normal, and don't trust anyone. Not Adrian, not Mila, not anyone. I'll handle the rest. She frowned. Evan, I'm not running away again. If someone's framing me, I'm going to find out who and why. A faint, almost admiring smile touched his lips. That's the Rhea I remember. They left separately to avoid attention, but as Rhea stepped out into the drizzle, she had the unnerving feeling that unseen eyes followed her every move. Halfway across the bridge, her phone vibrated again. From unknown number, he's lying to you again. Rhea froze, raindrops sliding down her face like cold tears. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears as she looked around, but the crowd moved indifferently past her, faces blurred by rain, none familiar, none safe. For the first time since the message last night, she realized the truth. This wasn't just about Adrian. Someone wanted to destroy her, and they knew every secret she'd ever tried to hide. The flash drives felt heavier than metal as Rhea slid them into her bag and hurried through the city's rain-washed streets. She kept checking her reflection in store windows, half expecting to see that dark-coated watcher again. At Collins and Bennett Architects, the glass doors reflected a distorted version of her, professional, composed, yet hollow-eyed. Inside, the lobby buzzed with its usual Monday rhythm. Interns balancing coffee trays, the printer's mechanical sigh, someone's laughter that didn't sound real. Rhea moved quickly to her office and locked the door behind her. She turned off the overhead lights, relying only on the glow of her monitor. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard before plugging in the first flash drive. Files populated the screen, thousands of entries labeled by project codes and transaction IDs. She scrolled through until one folder caught her eye. Renaissance block, confidential. She opened it. Invoices, payment receipts, subcontractor details, ordinary on the surface. But then she noticed something strange. Several digital signatures carried her name, but the dates didn't match her records. On those days, she had been overseas for a conference. Her throat tightened. The forgeries were perfect down to the pixel. Whoever had done this had access to her encrypted signature stamp and authorization portal. Then she saw another folder nested beneath it, hidden among the archives. Its name, for R. Her cursor hovered. She double-clicked. A single video file appeared. When she pressed play, The feed showed her own office at night. The timestamp, 3 weeks ago, 11:47 p.m. The camera angle came from the corner security unit. A woman entered, moving quickly but confidently. She wore a long coat, her face obscured by the hood. She went straight to Rhea's desk, pulled a flash drive from her pocket, and plugged it into the system. After a few minutes, she removed it and looked directly at the camera. Rhea's stomach dropped. It was Mila Trent, her best friend, her confidant, the woman who had stayed up with her through heartbreak, deadlines, and every sleepless night. Rhea froze the frame, staring at Mila's calm expression, the faint, knowing smile as if she were aware she was being recorded. The office door creaked. Rhea jumped, yanking the flash drive from the computer. "Hey, you okay?" Mila's voice floated in softly. She stood in the doorway, coffee in hand, eyes warm but unreadable. "You didn't answer your phone this morning."
Rhea forced a steady tone. "Just busy."
"Reports." Mila stepped inside, setting the cup on her desk. "You look pale. Didn't sleep again?" Rhea nodded faintly, hiding her trembling hand beneath the table. The smell of Mila's perfume, orange blossom and cedar, suddenly felt suffocating. "Adrian wants to see you," Mila said casually. "Something about the city council file." "I'll go in a minute," Rhea murmured. When Mila left, Rhea locked the door again and sagged against it, breath shallow. Her mind raced. Why would Mila do this? Was she working with Adrian, or with someone else entirely? She plugged in the second flash drive. A single document opened, filled with encrypted code, and the phrase repeated across the header. "Truth has a price." Suddenly, her screen glitched. Lines of code scrolled rapidly, erasing files faster than she could react. Then blackout. The monitor went dead. Rhea stared, panic surging. Someone had triggered a remote wipe. The flash drives were self-destructing digitally, taking all evidence with them. Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number. Now you know who she is. The question is, who are you?" A chill rippled through her. She looked around her darkened office, realizing the surveillance camera's red light was blinking again. Someone was watching right now. She grabbed her coat and bolted down the stairwell instead of the elevator. Her only thought was to find Evan. He had to see what she'd found before it was gone forever. When she reached the street, the rain had intensified into a downpour. A car horn blared somewhere behind her, tires screeching. She turned. Headlights rushed toward her. Everything went white. Rhea awoke to the antiseptic smell of a hospital room. Her body felt heavy, as if gravity had doubled. Machines beeped steadily beside her, and sunlight filtered through pale curtains. Her first thought, the flash drives. Her second, Evan. A nurse entered, startled to see her awake. "You're lucky, Miss Collins. A mild concussion and a fractured rib, but nothing worse." The driver called emergency services, hit and run, apparently. Rhea tried to sit up, pain slicing through her side. "My bag, where is it?" The nurse frowned. "It wasn't with you when you arrived." Her pulse quickened. The bag held both flash drives and her phone. Whoever had run her down had taken everything. Moments later, the door opened again. It wasn't Evan. It was Adrian Bennett. "Rhea," he said softly, his tone perfectly measured. "Thank God you're alive." Her stomach turned. "How did you know I was here?" "Mila called me," he replied. "She said you'd been in an accident. She's been worried sick." Rhea forced a bitter smile. "I'll bet she has." He stepped closer, his tailored suit immaculate as always. "The investigation's escalating. The city's demanding our financial records. I'm trying to keep your name clear, but it's complicated." "Complicated," she repeated, her voice flat. "Like forged documents? Or missing funds?" His gaze sharpened. "Where are you getting your information?" "Does it matter?" she shot back. "Tell me the truth, Adrian. Did you set me up?" He sighed, lowering himself into the chair beside her bed. "You've been under stress. I think someone's feeding you lies." "I'd never hurt you, Rhea, you know that." She stared at him, searching for a crack in his calm facade. But his eyes, cool and steady, revealed nothing. "I need to see Mila," she said. "She went home to rest," he answered. But she'll visit later. Rhea nodded slowly, pretending to relax. Inside, her mind worked furiously. If Adrian had her phone, he'd read everything. She had to act fast before they isolated her completely. Hours later, after he left, she pulled the 4 from her arm and slipped quietly out of bed. The nurse's station was busy. No one noticed as she stole a patient's jacket and headed for the elevator. Outside, the city shimmered beneath the afternoon sun, deceptively calm. She found a payphone near the parking lot, one of the few that still worked. Her hands trembled as she dialed the only number she remembered by heart. Evan Hale. His voice was cautious, tired. "Evan, it's me," she whispered. "They took everything that drives my phone. Adrian knows." There was a pause. "Rhea, listen carefully. You're not safe at your apartment. Meet me at the old warehouse by the docks. 8 p.m. Don't tell anyone." "Evan, what's going on?" But the line clicked dead. The pay phone emitted a dull tone, and Rhea stood there, gripping the receiver, every instinct screaming that she was being pulled deeper into something far more dangerous than embezzlement. As she turned to leave, a man stepped out from behind a parked car. It was the same figure from the cafe, the one with the umbrella. He smiled faintly, eyes glinting beneath the brim of his hat. "Miss Collins," he said in a low voice, "you really should have stayed in that hospital." Before she could reply, he handed her a sealed envelope and walked away into the crowd. Inside was a single photograph, grainy but unmistakable. Rhea and Evan, standing together at the cafe. And behind them, reflected in the cafe's window, was Adrian, watching from across the street. The next morning broke under a pale gray sky, the kind that seemed to swallow sound. Rhea stood at her apartment window, wrapped in a long robe, watching rain trace patterns down the glass. The city outside blurred into streaks of motion, taxis gliding by, umbrellas clashing, the distant hum of life that didn't care about her quiet chaos. Sleep had been impossible. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ethan's face, the flicker of guilt that had flashed across it the night before when he'd walked her home. She had replayed every second of that conversation, his hesitation, the subtle shift in his tone when she mentioned Jonathan Hale, her late father's company's new investor. Something wasn't right. Rhea had always trusted her instincts, a survival mechanism honed by years of living between ambition and heartbreak. She'd built her design firm, Aurora Atelier, from nothing, and now it stood on the edge of a merger that could either crown her or crush her. Ethan claimed to believe in her vision. He'd been her anchor, her quiet support, the man who knew when she needed a hand and when she needed silence. But lately, there were fractures in the mask. The way his phone would vibrate, and he'd step away. The late-night work calls lasted hours. The sudden bursts of defensiveness when she asked simple questions. She wanted to believe it was stress, the deal, the pressure, the stakes. But that hollow feeling in her chest whispered otherwise. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. "Breakfast? We need to talk."
Ethan.
Rhea stared at the message, thumb hovering over the screen.
Talk.
That word had become a loaded gun. She typed back slowly. "Come over. Coffee's on." By the time Ethan arrived, the rain had thinned to a mist. He looked tired, eyes shadowed, jaw tight, the crispness of his usual composure dulled. Rhea poured him coffee without speaking. The silence felt like glass between them. Ethan finally broke it. "Rhea, I need to tell you something before you hear it from someone else." Her stomach tightened. "That sounds ominous." "It's about the merger. Jonathan's firm, Hale and Cross, they've been pushing for a controlling stake. I tried to keep it quiet until I had leverage, but they're using your name, your designs, your numbers to position you out of your own company." Rhea froze. "That's impossible. They can't do that without my consent." Ethan rubbed his temples. "I've seen the internal emails. The vote is scheduled for next week. They're planning to present a narrative that you agreed to step down post-merger." She laughed bitterly. "And where exactly did they get that idea?" He didn't answer immediately. That pause, that single, heavy beat said everything.
"Ethan."
Her voice lowered to a dangerous calm. "What did you do?" He met her gaze, guilt flashing like lightning behind his eyes. I signed it. Under pressure. They told me it was a formality, just paperwork to finalize investor rights. I swear, Rhea, I didn't know they'd twist it into a resignation. Rhea's breath left her body in a sharp, trembling exhale. The room tilted, as if the air had suddenly lost balance. You assign my name?
Digitally.
They sent it through me because they said the system was down. I thought I was helping you. Her coffee cup slipped from her hand, shattering against the floor. The sound cracked through the silence like a gunshot. Helping me? She whispered, her voice trembling between rage and disbelief. You forged my name, Ethan. That's not helpful. That's betrayal. He stepped forward, pleading. Rhea, listen. I can fix this. I'll talk to Jonathan. There's still time. Don't, she snapped, stepping back. Don't you dare say his name. You worked with him, didn't you? This wasn't a mistake. It was planned. His silence confirmed what she already knew. Rhea turned away, pressing a trembling hand to her forehead. Every fiber of her being wanted to scream, to throw something, to make him feel even a fraction of the devastation now clawing through her. But instead, she whispered, Get out. Rhea.
Get out.
The words hit with the finality of a door slamming in the soul. Ethan lingered for a moment longer, his face pale, lips parting as if he might beg for forgiveness, but he didn't. He simply nodded, then left, his footsteps fading down the hallway until there was only the echo of her heartbeat. That night, Rhea didn't cry. She couldn't. Instead, she opened her laptop, stared at the contract files, and began tracing every signature, every timestamp, every line of metadata. Her training in business law and digital records came flooding back, like instinct. Somewhere in that web of deceit was a thread she could pull, and she intended to pull it until the entire scheme unraveled. Hours passed. The city fell asleep. Rhea's screen glowed in the darkness, lines of data illuminating her determined face. Then, at 2:47 a.m., she found something. A secondary log. Hidden but accessible through the back-end system. The signature authorization trail didn't match her ID. The metadata pointed to a private device registered under Ethan Parker, time-stamped 3 days before the official merger email went out. Her chest tightened, but this time it wasn't pain, it was purpose. They wanted a war? They were going to get one. Rhea saved the logs to an encrypted drive, grabbed her coat, and stepped into the cold night. The rain had stopped, but the air carried that damp, metallic scent before a storm. She walked down the quiet street toward her office, Aurora's headquarters, knowing that if she wanted to take back her company, she'd have to face every lie head-on. And somewhere deep inside, buried beneath the ache, a flicker of something else stirred. Not love, not hate, but something darker. A promise. The elevator doors opened with a metallic sigh, and Rhea stepped into the dimly lit lobby of Aurora Atelier. The office felt alien now, sterile, silent, stripped of its warmth. The faint hum of the servers echoed through the corridors like a mechanical heartbeat. She walked past the framed designs that once symbolized her triumph, dreams carved in ink and glass, and felt the sting of irony. Her company, her soul's extension, had become the stage for her betrayal. As she reached her office door, she froze. The light inside was on. Her hand hovered near the handle. For a heartbeat, she considered calling security, but something told her not to. She pushed the door open. Inside, Jonathan Hale sat behind her desk, legs crossed, sipping from her mug. His silver hair gleamed under the low light, and that practiced corporate smile curved across his face like a blade. Rhea, he greeted smoothly. You work too late. I admire the dedication. She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked to the flash drive plugged into her computer. He'd been accessing her files. What are you doing here? She demanded, stepping forward. Jonathan set the mug down and leaned back. Damage control. Ethan's confession made things complicated. Her pulse quickened. So, you know what he did? Oh, I know exactly what he did. I told him to. His tone was casual, almost conversational. He was remarkably pliable. A man in love will sign anything if he thinks it'll protect you. The room tilted. You used him, she said, voice trembling. I used both of you, Jonathan replied, rising from her chair. Business isn't personal, Rhea. You built something impressive, but idealists rarely survive in this world. Her nails dug into her palms. You forged my name, stole my rights, and sabotaged my life's work, and you want to call that business? Jonathan smiled faintly. I call it evolution. He started toward the door, but Rhea stepped in front of him, blocking his path. Not yet, she said quietly. You're going to regret underestimating me. Jonathan's expression hardened. Move, Rhea. Or what? You'll add breaking to your list of crimes. His jaw twitched. You have no proof. Rhea tilted her head slightly, the faintest smile ghosting her lips. That's where you're wrong. She reached into her coat pocket and held up a small black device, the voice recorder she'd placed on her desk earlier that evening, before leaving home. Everything you just said, she whispered, is now evidence. Jonathan's composure cracked for the first time. You. Oh, and before you think about deleting the data, she added, it's already uploaded to my cloud, along with your emails, the forged contracts, and Ethan's signature logs. A silence filled the room, sharp and brittle. Jonathan's breath came shallow. You think this will stop me? No, Rhea said, stepping closer until their faces were inches apart. But it'll destroy you. Her phone buzzed. She didn't break eye contact as she answered. Detective Moore, she said calmly. You can come up now. Jonathan's eyes widened. The door swung open moments later, and two plainclothes officers entered, their expressions unreadable but efficient. Mr. Jonathan Hale, one announced, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and corporate espionage. Jonathan turned to Rhea, his voice low, venomous. You think this makes you a hero? You're just another naive dreamer who believes justice means something. Maybe, Rhea replied softly, but at least I can still sleep at night. They led him away, his footsteps echoing down the hallway until the sound vanished entirely. Rhea stood in silence for a long time, staring at the city's skyline through the rain-smeared glass. Dawn was beginning to rise, pale gold breaking through storm clouds. She sat down at her desk, exhaustion washing over her in waves. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up the photo of her team that had been knocked askew. Smiling faces. People who had trusted her to lead. Ethan's betrayal still burned like a fresh wound, but she knew she couldn't let it define her. Her phone buzzed again, a message from him. I'm sorry, Rhea. I didn't know. Please believe me. She stared at the words, feeling the ache in her chest twist. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she typed back one final line. Belief is earned, Ethan. And you spent yours. She set the phone down and leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes. For the first time in weeks, her breathing slowed, steady and deep. Outside, the first rays of sunlight touched the wet pavement, turning puddles into mirrors of light. Aurora's sign flickered back to life, her company's name reborn, fittingly, under the symbol of dawn. Rhea whispered to herself, they took my trust. They took my peace. But they'll never take my fire. Her reflection in the glass looked back, stronger, sharper, untouchable. And somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled again. Not as a warning this time, but as applause.